Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25th RNCI Red Nation International Film Festival. Today, for our Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge, we are going to spotlight a film, OPHIR. Am I pronouncing it right?
OPHIR.
OPHIR. Okay, so I say this every time. My pronunciation is just like it's the joke of the team here. So forgive.
All good.
And so and we have our special guests, our directors. But before we get into that, I'd like to update you on what's going on with the film festival. For all of you tuning in, you could binge this weekend, holiday weekend, on Native films, all from all over the world. We have 105 films, and they'll be available online until November 30th. And we have our award ceremony coming up on Sunday, and we're giving the Lifetime Achievement Award to Graham Greene, and he'll be there, and it's just going to be a magic evening. So I hope you all can tune in. Also, there's VIP tickets available, so you could get them at rednationff.com. And it's a special room, like it's a VIP section within our streaming. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then on November 30th, we have our concert series that our artists are Joe Walsh, Joanne Shenandoah, Hook Herrera. The roster is just amazing. So check it out at rednationff.com. So everyone, won't you help me welcome our guests today, our directors, Oliver and Alex. And so we're going to spotlight on your film today. And Oliver, this question is for you. Would you, hello. First of all, hello, Oliver, hello, Alex. I'm a little bit distracted today because we're getting ready for the holiday, so forgive, but we're also preparing for the award ceremony, so everyone's really excited over here in the studio, and we're just like, you know, well, you saw pre
Yep.
before we went live. So anyway, I'm just totally focused on you two because I love this film, and I'd love for you, Oliver, to share. I can read from a script the synopsis of your film, but I much prefer to have it come from the creators. So if you would share with our audience what your film is about.
Yeah, it's a big question what our film is about. I think there's a small island in the middle of the Pacific that's called Bougainville. I mean, actually, it's more than an island, it's two islands, but it's called Bougainville, and it may actually become the world's newest nation soon, because it voted at the end of last year. There was a referendum for independence. It's a small nation that's attached to Papua New Guinea at the moment, but they voted for their own independence. And this place has gone through a very heavy colonial history over the last 200 years. And it has gone through an indigenous revolution as well. So this place is in Papua New Guinea, and it may become a new nation soon. And it has gone through an extraordinary revolution and a very bloody civil war that is linked to it was in the 1990s. But what was back then one of the largest open cast gold and copper mine in the world. And what the film is about is, it's a film about many different things. It's a film about spirituality. It's a film about where are we going collectively today. It's through the story of this little tiny island. I think it tells somehow the story of where we are going, and our relationship to the natural world, our relationship to ancestors, the kind of societies that we want to build. You have the case of a nation that's at a crossroads at the moment. And I think the world is at a crossroads at the moment. So this is I could tell you that it's a story of colonialism, stories of mechanisms that are creating oppression and suppression, and how do people find freedom? I could tell you that it's about how do we connect to what's out there. It's could be a very spiritual film as well. It's a film about many things, but it's a film about the people of Bougainville. Yeah.
And Alex, would you like to share further share on that as well?
Yeah. I mean, Olivier said like pretty much everything that it's what the film is about. I can add that it's a film, of course, that is based on a mining story, you know, but it's not really a mining film. It's more of a film, as Olivier said. It's really about mechanisms, you know, past and present mechanisms of things that humans in general have been maybe inflicting to themselves, humans inflicting to ourselves. And this film is an opportunity, I would say, to look at those things that we did in the past. That are things that are we have been doing to the land. That is something sacred, both on Bougainville and in other places in the world. And to ourselves as well. And that's something I can add. It's that this film is an opportunity to look at those things and to question ourselves about what we have been doing and what we want to do next as a next step, both on Bougainville as a place and as well for us as humans in general. So I think we really much had a like a global approach to the story.
Mm-hmm. And Oliver, why did you pick this? Why did you do this film, this subject matter, and take this whole subject on?
Well, there are many different reasons for it. One of the reasons, I think, in the world, this is one of the biggest stories in the world today. And I'm not lying. I think the story of Bougainville is an absolutely fundamental story for mankind, not just locally, but internationally. And that people should actually pay attention to what occurred there. On a personal level, I started working in Papua New Guinea over 10 years ago. That's when, for the first time, I started to take my camera. I was trained as a journalist and then started to work with indigenous communities over there over 10 years ago. And that's when I started being shocked by land theft, alienation, the natural resource, the exploitation of natural resources, how people were being cheated and have been cheated for a very long time. And that got me interested into systems. What are the systems behind it? And are there ways to maybe get rid of those systems to build more sustainable paths, not just for nations, but for people, you know? And then so over 10 years ago, I made my first film in Papua New Guinea. And with Alex, we've known each other for years, you know, we grew up together. And back then, Alex was already editing my very first film, which was about something quite different. It was about tuna, but that's when I met lots of Bougainvillians. And that's when I heard about what occurred in Bougainville, and I thought this is absolutely extraordinary in so many ways. That, you know, you have a little island that you had a colonial war that was fought to defend the mining's interest because you had a system that was so tied to the exploitation of natural resources that you had an indigenous nation such as Papua New Guinea that was forced to go and kill another nation, which is Bougainville, right? And 10% of the population died. Imagine, you know, we're both from France. The kind of size of the story we're talking about here would be the equivalent of what happened probably during the Second World War, you know. And this is what occurred in the middle of the Pacific. And it's a story that, you know, a few people have heard about, but that talks about so many different things. It's hard for me to say. So to point like to one particular reason why we did that story. Right. We did that story because it needed to be told. Unfortunately, that's too few films that are made both locally and that are shown outside about the Pacific in general. It's like the Pacific is this one massive area that is completely forgotten in mainstream media and and yet there are extraordinary cultures, extraordinary stories that the world could, be really inspired by. It's not just about feeling pity for, people in Bougainville. That's absolutely nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. Actually, that's what some of the main characters actually tell you, the stories for the world, and so that's why, like when people, it was back then, it was local people as well that we knew very well that also asked us to come. It was both, we knew about that story, and at the same time, there were some very serious things happening on the land. And we thought, okay, maybe we can go and collaborate. And that's what we did over 7 years to make this film.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's been the journey that we've been with, having the conversation with all the filmmakers, is the length of time that it takes to make a film and the courage it takes to make it and then actually have it out there for the world to see and then get distribution and so forth. So it's, I'm so excited, and our board of directors is thrilled that you entered and submitted your film into our festival. We really love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up something, because I think this will make a difference globally. Congresswoman Deb Haaland is being looked at to be the Department of Interior, to run that under, with Biden. And I think that that would be extraordinary, because that would be the first time a Native person, being a woman as well, would have that seat in the House. And I think that that'll change a lot globally, because the subject matter that you're dealing with here in this film, in your film, is digging up our original mother. And hurting her blood, which is the Maniwanka, which is the sacred water, right? And contaminating that, and digging her up, extracting. And that's just, it's not okay anymore to do that. There's no reason to do that, really. There are so many brilliant minds that we have other ways to go, in another direction than doing that. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. There was something that was crossing my mind, is that as I said earlier, what you say is totally right. And what we experienced actually making this film is also the fact that, so when you have stories about extraction, and as you say, about like digging the mother and things like that, many people usually think about something that is physical, something that you can look at, and that is quantifiable, I would say. But there's something invisible as well, in those stories, which is the sacredness of the land. And that's a very important point that I think you have to experience once in a lifetime, because it's the damage is just the same. And when we I can still remember the first time we faced the mining sites on Bougainville. It was a shocking vision for us, and somehow you have to deal with and find and hear stories that are going to write the landscape of that drama, and to so that you can transmit it onto a film and in a story. So yeah, I agree, and it's something really striking, this sacredness.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like in Oak Flat, on the Apache territory, and in Dene territory, the extracting, what Peabody Mining Company has done, and you go, you see all this gorgeous land, and then there's this part that's like destroyed, contaminated, and the other thing that does as well is it all those chemicals that go into the earth, and then you have to plant that's all cancer.
Yeah.
It's like you can't, I mean, none of this makes sense, you know, to do this. I mean, it's just, there's a film, did you all see Kiss the Ground?
Yeah, I started
Yeah.
watching it last night. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really inspiring because we can regenerate and renew and, you know, redo and reheal our mother, because she's speaking very loud with her tornadoes and her earthquakes, and she's saying, wake up everyone, wake up, do something. So to have, you know, filmmakers like yourself and all these other extraordinary filmmakers in our film festival this year, a lot of the topic has been this topic, right? From different perspectives with different filmmakers. And so the power of film is incredible because we're able to reach people that may not even know anything about this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why as well, you know, like when we worked over all these years, you know, with the local communities, because we thought, like, when we started gathering stories, very important stories, some of them, you know, that couldn't actually fit, you know, to our narrative or whatever that is in our film, right? And that's why we also just finished recently a whole educational program that also contains 30 short films, that contains a lot of the colonial documentations to actually, you know, you can watch the film as a kind of introduction to that story. Because in a way where you're like, oh, you know, I learned in class about the French Revolution. You're like, well, today I learned in class about the Bougainville Revolution. Okay, do you want to study the Bougainville Revolution? Because that's the one thing that we found is just these stories needs to be told and needs to be studied as well, and people need to be inspired by them. And so we just launched this. It's called colonialsyndrome.org. You can go and check it out if you're interested. I think it could be really interesting for, you know, for students worldwide to just okay, who are the people of Bougainville and what have they gone through? Oh, okay, maybe they've gone through things that are quite similar to what we've gone through. And that we designed it with the communities, and it was a very interesting, I mean, yeah, really fulfilling, you know, to actually be able to share all these stories that are very varied, but that all speak in echo about experience, and that experience needs to be passed on to others.
Absolutely. Well, you know, one thing that we offer our filmmakers is we have Red Nation Television Network. And we were streaming before Netflix or OWN or Hulu, or the only other one that was streaming at that time, like 500 years ago, no, a while back, was YouTube, and they were doing very little, but we're very specific. It's American Indian and Indigenous content, right? So this platform is just gorgeous. And I would, you know, so what we offer our filmmakers is that once you go through the festival circuit, and once you get distribution or don't get distribution, hopefully you get distribution by screening at our festival, that after that cycle, then you could come back and revisit us, and we can stream your work on our network. We would be honored to do that. So I just want to let you know that that's available for you, because sometimes filmmakers don't know and they don't read the whole email, and we're like, sometimes our emails are, you know, really long, and
Sure. No, this particular platform, like, anybody can today actually go to colonialsyndrome.org and find out all these little stories right now, because we just finished it after all these years. Like,
congratulations, that's a huge accomplishment. So I'd love for you, Oliver, can you say it slowly so that?
colonialsyndrome.org.
Again.
colonialsyndrome.org, right?
Everyone that's listening, if you want to learn anything about this subject matter, there's a whole educational component to this film that we're discussing today. And Oliver, you can go to
colonialsyndrome.org.
All right.
colonialsyndrome.org. I'm going to type it for you and then send it to you straight away.
Fantastic. So Alex, let's hear from you on some more. And what was the process like? What was the process like for you? Because you spoke about spirituality. You spoke about this is sacred and spiritual. And what was the defining moment for you making this film that was like a spiritual moment for you, a sacred moment for you?
That's a very interesting question, because I think there are so many defining moments, you know.
Yeah.
We spent a couple of months there, so we had so many stories to tell. And I think the defining moments may not be a defining moment. It may more or less be a global sensation and kind of souvenir about all this. But it's more of a collective effort, you know. So yeah, it's the way we engaged into this work and story was really in collaboration with all the people that we met. As Olivier said, we had those contacts that Oli had when making his previous film, and from them we could build something. And what we actually managed to build together was a piece of work that can reflect two things. One thing is a people's voice. That's one main element, of course, and our voice as well as filmmakers, you know, because you can't get yourself too distant all the time, and it's a dialogue. But the main voice of the film was for the people of Bougainville to speak, you know. So our work was mainly to be there and record and listen a lot, and to try to make sense of something that is very complex, of course, because there are so many layers to the story, with the mining side and the colonial aspect of it, and the environment aspect of it, and there are so many layers. So that was something that was somehow a challenge as well, but very exciting at the same time, because this Bougainville story was so striking to us as persons, as humans, you know, that we really had a great connection to it. We really could understand what was going on somehow. Of course, there is a part of it that we are not making sense about, you know, because it's beyond imagination what happened there, and it's bigger than life somehow. Yeah. But we tried to do that. We tried to make sense and to organize the story so that people could understand it and feel it, you know, feel it in all its sadness, of course, because it's to a great extent quite a tough story, and in all its beauty, because it's absolutely fabulous what the people there are making, you know, to rebuild with the environment and to remain alive as communities, as a culture. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So that's something we wanted to put in the film, and as a process, it was all of that, you know.
Yeah,
it was about giving that space, right?
Yeah.
Like the freedom, the space to be able to capture, and so that the people would feel free to actually express themselves in any languages. So that's why it took us so long as well, you know.
Yeah.
Shooting in 4 different languages, it's
Yeah.
a process.
Yeah.
But it was to feel that, to actually have those our dream collectively, you know, with all the absolutely extraordinary Bougainvillean collaborators that we're working with. It was collectively, we wanted to have like, if I would have 2 hours of your time, I want you for 2 hours to be in Bougainville, right, and to feel the breath of life from Bougainville. Right. And this sounds a little bit maybe ambitious or whatever, but it was the idea to actually try to create that space where you feel it. It's just, it comes out, and this comes from the strengths of experience from the people that you need to just help you with your camera. You just you're just a creative translator of experience, really.
Just something I wanted to add about what Olivier said before about the platform as well, the educational program, is that we had so many encounters on Bougainville about with people that said that they, I mean, some of them were young people, but not only, you know, saying that they didn't know about their own story, and so because of course the story of Bougainville is not written in books, you know. You don't.
Right.
It's hard to document yourself about that story, so you have to
Right.
go to archives and make contacts, and eventually go there, you know, to
Right.
know the full extent of it.
Yeah.
So so the dynamic was again, it was both to create a dramatic film, of course, but as well to provide a document as well, you know, because through that film and through the platform, through the educational program, people and young generations that may have difficulties, you know, to have access to their own story and past and from previous generations, they can do that. I mean, it's a start, you know.
Yeah, it
It's
is a start.
start something that to inspire others to keep going as well. Like to go,
Right.
hey, you know, these stories, they're all out there in the villages. You need to
Well,
go out.
you know, you brought up a couple of words here, right? Because words have power, right? So Oliver, you brought up ambitious. And when we are dreamers like we are, being creatives that we are, ambitious is a good thing. Because the bigger the dream, the better, right? Because it's all encompassing. So I really love that word, ambitious. I know that sometimes people look at that as like overwhelming, you know, like even with funders or you know, when you're pitching your idea, oh, that's really ambitious. Well, good. It's good that it's ambitious, right? So I love that word. And then there was a word brought up earlier on in the conversation of pity. And, you know, there's one thing about Red Nation Celebration Institute is that we've never posed ourselves as a cause. Like, we're not a cause. We are still here. We are resilient. And we're here for the next 7 generations. That's how we think. And it's like there's no, you know, we often get, oh, for American Indian projects, it's going to be our pet project, our compassion project, our what? It's like, no, that, you know, that when I hear that from funders, I run. I don't want their money because I know I know maybe their intentions are honorable, but words have power, and that exchange has power, right? So I rather have funders and the industry see us as professionals that we are in front of and behind the camera. You know, just like Martin Scorsese's, just like De Niro, just like Leonardo, just like Meryl Streep, you know. And we have that talent in our community. And even though this is a documentary, all of those wisdom keepers that you filmed and are speaking about.
And exactly. And this was actually one of the main driver of all this. It's just like, you have, you know, you may be talking to someone in the village, okay, but that someone, you know, would be probably presented in Western society as being, oh, you know, here comes this great philosopher that has all these awards, etc. You're like, well, in the village right in front of you, I'm sitting in front of one of the most brilliant minds I've ever met. Yeah. And this is the thing, and this, and I'm not saying this, you know, to try to sell it to you. I don't have anything to sell. No, right? I'm just telling you that this is what it is, and that these brilliant minds, and we have been so privileged to actually meet them, and I can see Alex's face because you know exactly who the extraordinary people, and I'm just blown away by, you know, women, men, just of, you know, you just
yeah, he puts
I have very little words, because when you say it, you know, people, you know, when we came back, it was quite hard, you know, to explain, to say, well, do you know who we met? We met someone that is recreating forests, that revives water sources, that actually can bring back life into destroyed places, and planted 1 million trees with his communities. We met people that are taking on one of the biggest corporations in the world, that have, you know, no fear, that have, from their, without having attended the biggest schools in the world, that have actually understood how global capitalism works, that could actually be, and I'm not kidding you, that could actually be some of their analysis are one of the most profound analysis of the systems that we live in that I've ever read. I mean, not read, I listened to them, but I was like, well, it could be a book that you could sell. Yeah, it can. And it's all out there. It's all out there, but it's just that because it's not in the mainstream, you don't hear about it.
Right.
You may.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
There's a reason why we don't. And the solution is rednationff.com, where you could see and learn and experience these storytellers and the subject matters, and learn about our Indigenous peoples from their perspective and their own territories. And that's the power of film, you know. We're going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. It's been an extraordinary 30 minutes with both of you. I am so honored to meet you, and I'm so happy that you made this film, and also that it's an educational component to it. That's very important. I directed the American Holocaust film 20 years ago. This September was 20 years, and we made an educational component during this pandemic. And it's been a powerful, powerful tool. It is a powerful tool to have, you know, for students, for everyone to learn.
Yeah.
You know, I want to ask you both two more questions, and that is, we have a couple of minutes. Well, yeah, we have a couple of minutes. What can our audience do if they want to get involved? What can they do? What's the call to action?
You want to go, Oli?
Go.
No?
I can sense you really.
I have a nice transition to that, because Olivier just talked about, for example, the one man that you see in the film. His name is Bruno Idiorai, and is the man in the film planting the trees and making the forest live again. Is one of the people that we met that is having a concrete project with this learning center, you know, in the middle of the jungle in the mountain. It needs funding, for example. So when people want to donate, for example, that's possible. They can reach out to us, and we can and we have some people on Bougainville that can make a transition to him, like for receiving funds. And it will be done. It has already been done by some people. So that's one thing. That's one example.
Okay, but Alex, where can they get a hold of you to?
They go on the website of the film, OPHIR.com.
Okay, go slow with the .com thing. Tell our audience. Let our audience.
So there are different ways to get in touch. We have the OPHIR Facebook page. We have the OPHIR film.com website.
Okay.
And now there is this educational platform called colonialsyndrome.org. So it's different ways to get in touch with us. It's quite easy, straightforward.
And what I would like to say is just like right now, you know, Bougainville is going to be in the news. You're going to hear about it and talk about what happened there. People would be absolutely amazed by that story. And right now there are huge cases as well that are being, legal cases as well that are being developed. There are some mediations, very important mediations in Australia about the environmental disaster and legacy left by one of the biggest mining companies in the world, which is called Rio Tinto, and whose villages are still suffering immensely nowadays. And I know because I've seen, we filmed a couple of years ago, and in the space of a few years, the evolution has been catastrophic. Because I've seen the pictures, you know, firsthand. I'm sent, you know, some pictures, and in a few years, it's really harming the villagers' lives. And now I think it's picking up. You know, you have a few articles in The Guardian, you have a few people that are really loud and are doing extraordinary work to try to solve that issue as well, which is, it's also a time to heal, you know. Right. It could be very, very dangerous to go towards a path of forgetting what occurred on that island. if you reinvite mining, for example, that could be absolutely catastrophic. You could have one of the biggest wars again in the Pacific. And I think that comes from, you know, what you said, it's education and knowledge. People need to be aware that those places exist and those stories exist, and it's essential.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I love, and I could feel your passion for what you do.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's contagious. So the energy is contagious, even though we're on Zoom. And I wish we can, you know, in person. Our team, we're all huggers over here, and so we put an invitation out for next year. Hopefully, we'll all be in person, and we're inviting all of our filmmakers this year to come back next year in person. And
That would be absolutely brilliant. We would have
Yeah.
loved, you know, like for us, you know, connecting through, you know,
Yeah.
especially Indigenous festivals. You know, like we've had some of the most extraordinary screenings in Indigenous settings, because it creates bridges between people, between cultures of experience, and it leads to. I mean, there are no words to express, you know, some of the things we've gone, like we've.
So we'll have a special place for our, you know, 2020 filmmakers to meet with our 2021 filmmakers.
Yeah, sure.
We'll have a party, a celebration, because we'll be in person.
No, but we were so happy to be part of Red Nation. I mean, when we received the notification, was really a great joy. So that's really something I wanted to say, because we are really, you talked about being honored and everything, and we are really honored to be part of Red Nation. Just know that.
You're 20, happy birthday, you know?
Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah.
we wish we could be there, and the situation could be better, you know?
Yeah, but we'll see you next year.
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, we'll see you when we can see each other in person.
Sure.
That way, whenever that is. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. And can you say the title of your film and spell it? Because sometimes people, you know, are hearing it, but the spellings, you know, would like to do that.
Alex.
It's OPHIR, OPHIR, OPHIR.
You could see it right now at rednationff.com and binge watch Native films all weekend. There's all kinds of films, all different subject matters, different directors, different points of view. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you all, Alex. And
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.